The Mongols were a nomadic people who became well known to the Europeans as dangerous barbarians. As John of Carpini wrote, the women make use of vile and disgusting language. When the Mongols decided to enter European lands in order to capture territory, panic struck the entirety of Europe, causing enough concern for Pope Innocent IV to send emissaries to the Mongol lands in order to stop the Mongols from the destruction and desolation against European countries. This documentary will explore how nomadic horsemen who were less armed than their European adversaries were able to decisively capture the entirety of Eastern Central Europe, also touching on what stopped the Mongols from conquering the rest of the European world. We will be focusing on two of the largest and most decisive battles that allowed the Mongols to gain control over the entirety of Europe. In order to understand how the Mongols easily defeated the Eastern Central Europeans, who were far better armed, we must travel back to the very beginning of the invasion. In December of 1240 CE, Subadai, who was the head strategist for the Eastern European campaigns, divided his troops into 5 columns, 2 attacking Poland, 2 to Hungary, and 1 in modern-day Czech Republic. His aim was for each column to defeat the main powers that would pose a threat to the Mongols, eventually converging for a large attack on Hungary, consolidating their capture of Eastern Europe. The northern contingent of troops sent to Poland were able to capture the cities of Kraków and Wrocław, slaughtering the inhabitants. The Polish campaign reached its climax when Henry II the Pious, Duke of Silesia, raised an army in the Silesian town of Liegnitz in order to stop the Mongol forces from proceeding any farther into Poland. Henry II's army, however, unlike the Mongols, selected its officers through birth and nobility rather than skill and competence. This proved to be a crucial error, as the Mongols were able to encircle Henry's cavalry brigade as they charged the Mongols, believing they would fight in hand-to-hand combat. The Mongols forced the brigade to retreat and then mounted a charge against Henry's army. The Mongol charge, however, turned into a feigned retreat, and Henry and his contingent, along with the rest of his cavalry, chased the Mongols, only to fall into a Mongol trap. The Mongols began to decimate the European army as they were unable to regroup, ultimately destroying the entire army and decapitating Duke Henry II after the fight was over. Although the Europeans were far better equipped than the Mongols, they were unable to defend themselves against the Mongols' feigned retreat tactics and utilization of light cavalry. These tactics that the Mongols utilized had not been seen before by the European army, and therefore the thicker armor and better weapons did not sway the battle. 2 days after the Battle of Liegnitz, on the 11th of April, the main Mongol army met Hungarian King Bela IV and his forces at the Muhi River. After several attempts to cross the river after being repulsed by the Hungarians, Batu Khan, the grandson of Genghis Khan, was able to lead his forces across the river, forcing the Hungarians into another deadly Mongol encirclement. The Hungarian army crumbled under the Mongols' fierce attacks, and the Hungarians were routed and the entire army destroyed, except for King Bela, who was able to flee into Austrian territory. King Bela would go on to issue letters of aid to both Pope Gregory IX and the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II in search of aid in the fight against the Mongols. Due to political and religious conflicts, however, this aid was not received immediately and therefore allowed the Mongols to continue their assault on Eastern Central Europe. Once again, the Mongols were able to show their devastating way of war, decimating the Hungarian forces by using strategies the Europeans had never seen. These tactics allowed the Mongols to decimate any European force they encountered during their campaign. While Batu was engaged in the Battle of the Muhi River, one of the other Mongol contingents was able to raise Transylvania, destroying large sections of land before finally joining up with Batu after the battle had finished in order to march further into Hungary. While the Mongols went on to conquer much of Hungary, claiming dominion over Eastern Central Europe, in 1241 news spread of the death of the great Khan Otogai. The death of Otogai meant that all nobility must return to Mongolia to have a Kuriltai, an event that was called by Mongol nobles to declare a new great Khan, forcing the Mongol forces to leave Europe in 1242. The death of Otogai and the retreat of the Mongols is all that spared Western Europe from the same fate as Central Eastern Europe. While the European armies had been significantly more equipped with weapons and armor, they could not withstand the devastating Mongol tactics they had never seen before. If Otogai's death did not occur, the Mongols, who the Europeans came to fear, would have campaigned against the West and potentially conquered all of Europe. It is very important to emphasize, however, that the destruction of Eastern Central Europe was not solely due to the Mongols' devastating warfare, but also the religious conflicts between Pope Gregory IX and Frederick II that prevented any Western armies from aiding the Eastern countries. The Mongols, as a result, were able to swiftly and decisively defeat the Eastern European army without any aid coming from the West, consolidating themselves within Europe itself. We would like to thank you for watching our documentary, and if you have any further interest towards the Mongols, we suggest looking at The Secret History of the Mongols, which chronicles Genghis's rise to power and the dynasty which he would create.